Please don't let that have been a mirage.
Hello, fellow gamers. This time we are into the Uncharted territories of Naughty Dog. What you see before you is the sublime-looking Uncharted 3 on the PS3, and as you can see, the cutscenes within the game are a mixture of in-game and pre-rendered stuff. And Uncharted 4 was shown at E3 a couple of weeks ago, and everyone went into hoo-ha about it. So I wanted to do a video, break that down, and go through that in vivid detail. That was the 1080-60 video that everyone was stunned and astounded by, including myself. Even though my expectations seemed to be far higher than most other people's, even I was blown away by what I expected to see. Now, Uncharted, The Last of Us, all these kind of games, they all had this combination where they had real-time and then they had pre-rendered farm cutscenes in the game. So you basically had a combination of the game running a real-time cutscene, as you saw just a moment ago, and then you have pre-rendered cutscenes that run on a video like this. Now, these are a mixture of high-quality models, and then they add a little bit of additional lighting, a little bit of additional effects, and they pre-render it on a farm of 8 PS3s, and then you get an output. But it's not a huge departure from the in-game models, but it is certainly in The Last of Us a vivid change. Now that's different with Uncharted 4. They're not doing those anymore. Due to power and space, all cutscenes will now be in-engine, live, real-time. So we all saw the original reveal at E3 that kind of blew everyone away and ended Sony's conference quite stupendously, to be fair. And then a lot of the hoo-ha that came out of this video was the fact that it's, oh no way, it's pre-rendered, it's not really, it's CGI, blah 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 blah. And there's been a lot of confirmation and a lot of information that's come out of Naughty Dog and other developers in the industry now saying that it definitely is real time. So I've then spent a little bit of time looking at the video and picking up highlights of where I believe it is real time, and it definitely is real time. So a lot of people are still questioning it and still want them to say real time on the confirmation, but they're saying captured from a PS4, in engine, in game, from a real level in the game. There's no reason for them to take that out, and no reason for them to say it is that when it's actually not. And there's a few good reasons why it's clearly obvious it's real time. Let's just go through those in detail. One of the first things which I love about Naughty Dog is they start the video off with the dialogue that's baiting the audience. As you see now, if I play it out, listen to what Nate and what Sully say to each other before you get a shot of Nate's face. The first thing that Nate says is,
So, what do you think?
It's a lot to take in, kid. Where do I even start?
and that basically is them saying, what do you guys think of this? And then Sully is you and us basically saying, oh my god, there's too much to take in. It's Naughty Dog at its finest. They play the audience, they drop hints, they drop tips, they drop secrets all the time, and they are so confident in their skills, quite rightly so. I've got a lot of respect for a lot of development houses. There's some real great technical houses out there like Crytek and Remedy and Ready at Dawn now, and so Sony Santa Monica. But Naughty Dog are a step up above everybody else. They simply have the ability to maximise, and they're well known for it. In fact, they're well known for getting down and dirty with the hardware and working out all the intricacies of the hardware to get the best out of it and use it to its finest. And nothing proves that more than what they squeezed out of the PS2 and of the PS3 more specifically. What they managed to get out of those machines is stupendous and astounding, and that's because they spent the time understanding the hardware, getting down and dirty with how little bits of code work, how the hardware and the chip registries work, how the bandwidth works, and they're doing exactly the same thing with the PS4. Bearing in mind that a lot of the ICE team that works for Sony is basically Naughty Dog. They are the highlight of Sony's AAA studios. And there was never any doubt in my mind that they were going to show us what the PS4 was capable of. And here and now they've done that. So after the initial bait and here you go audience, what do you think of this? There's loads of little tricks, and this is what Naughty Dog are stupendous at. They're so good at diverting the eye to things that matter, averting you away from things that don't. So the first thing they've done is the video is full of doff. It's doff to hell. That hides a lot of the anti-aliasing issues that you get in 1080p stuff. But this definitely is a 1080p image. It's not super sampled, or at least it's not super sampled overall. There may be parts that are overly enhanced from within the engine mine. There might be some super sampled textures or something else that they're doing with the aliasing. I don't know at this point. But what I do know is telltale signs that we've got a real-time render running here. The first thing is you can see as Nate wakes up here, you can see his ring finger. Watch as it clips through his other finger. You can see that there. If that was pre-rendered, it would not be happening. The second thing is, if you look at his arm as he's moving the sand. Now the sand moves with a very weighted feel to it. It looks like wet sand, but it's certainly not a particle-based engine. It's just a mesh moving like a polygonal mesh, and then they change the texture map underneath the gun. So when he takes the gun away from the sand, you can see the area of water pooling in. What you can also see is the area around Nate's elbow. It moves and then the texture flicks to the next texture. You can also see the way the water splashes as he's nearer the water. It's two mixed meshes of textures and then an alpha effect creating a splosh as he moves. The other thing is you can see the water dripping off Nate's chest, but it's not impacting with the water. There's no splashes, there's no impact. What you see is a standard alpha effect of like bubbles and ripples are just static there. They're there to create that effect. Again, they're diverting your eye because you're not going to be looking there. It just sums up their brilliance. Now this is the first sign. If you look at Nate's forehead, and also as he sits up here and I zoom in, you can see the flickering and the aliasing on the shadows of his forehead. You wouldn't get that in a pre-rendered version. You only get that in real-time rendering. Also, as Nate sits back, look at the lapel near his chest. You can see the specular map is again aliasing and flickering. Again, a pure sign that it's not something that's pre-rendered. They're not wasting polygons. Now, this is allegedly, Nate is made up of double the amount of polygons from Joel, and people are obviously saying that's 40,000 from The Last of Us, but that they could also be talking about the ones that they use for the now PS4 version and the cutscenes on the PS3. So that could be in the region of 80,000 polygons at this point. So I don't think they've gone stupid on polygons, and there's a point where you get this diminishing returns on what you put in, and polygons don't always sort out your issues. Good texture, good art, good aliasing, good lighting can mask a lot of polygonal issues, and I don't think this is using or wasting polygons on the build of Nate. They're doing it exactly as they should do based on where the camera is. The other part you can see, look at the back of Nate's head. As he turns, look at his hairline, and it disappears into the doff effect in the background. It kind of merges away just there as I slow it down. Again, that's not something you get on a pre-render. Now they're doing some very clever anti-aliasing around Nate's hair, which looks very similar to the fur tech that NVIDIA are using. So they've obviously found out a way to create a very realistic fur or hair technique that doesn't have stacks of anti-aliasing. But to be fair, The Last of Us and Uncharted 3 had a very good hair tech. When you looked at it quite close in game, it never looked that bad and that jagged. The other side of this, if you look at Nate's water bottle as he stands up and the light catches, again the specular light reflective map, you can see it shimmering and aliasing. You can see a little bit of jaggers on there. Anything outside of the foreground is completely doffed to hell. You're never going to see any aliasing there. Then the next thing is he walks through the bush and the camera pans across to the cages. You can see on the top of the line there, before it gets doffed, you can see the shimmering from the moonlight reflection on the specular, and then you can see it again on the spike at the edge. You can see the aliasing line before it gets doffed. It's just prior to that kicking in. You can see the line, and that's a perfect line. If you pause it and count that line, that's a perfect diagram to get you a resolution, and I'm definitely sure this is running at 1080 when you pixel count it. There's lots of mixture of global illumination, real light sources, and baked light sources and baked shadows in here. They're doing a lot of work on adaptive tessellation. You can see it on Nate's neck, on Nate's face, and this is a technique that basically uses a far more advanced version of tessellation without the performance hit that you get normally. It enables you to create an object that looks completely smooth and rounded. If we pause it here on Nate's nose, you can see it's completely smooth, completely rounded, just like his neckline is. But it doesn't take the hit that normal tessellation takes. It only basically tessellates the silhouette. And this is something that Naughty Dog are specifically working on their techniques. And it's going to be something that's going to be big this generation, because it all comes back to what I've said before, diminishing returns. Some techniques look amazing, and they have an equal amount of performance hit, so it's worth the hit. Some techniques do not. HBAO is a classic example of one that is far exceeds its performance hit for its visual payback. Tessellation is another. There's no point in tessellating a scene when you can't see the whole object, 3D geometry. So there's no point in tessellating a completely round spherical object on all parts of the object when you're only seeing the silhouette. And this is exactly what adaptive tessellation does. It basically means it only highlights and tessellates the area, i.e. adds more detail, more polygons, to the part that makes a difference for the viewer. The other signs that this is not pre-rendered is the fact that the water dripping from Nate's nose, it doesn't actually have a contact. It's just an alpha effect running behind or over his nose in a well-placed point. Because it's a cutscene, they can put all this in the right place. You see it from his chin, and as he sits up, you get water droplets. You can see the water mesh is two separate meshes mixing together. They're not a single tessellated water effect. It's two separate effects. The drips coming from Nate's shirt and his arm, they completely fall through and don't have any contact with the world around it. Everything about this scene is telling me time and time again it's definitely real time, it's definitely on the fly. There is no doubt in my mind this is definitely what they've done, and again it just proves where Naughty Dog are and how brilliant not only their technical team is, their coders. Corinne Yu is a classic example of a stupendous coder, but she's not the only one in the Naughty Dog team. There are many other coders in that team that deserve as much recognition as she does, but she is a very clever woman and she will bring a lot of aid to the team, along with the animators that have come from Ubisoft, in addition to superb animators, superb technical artists, texture artists, sound designers, level designers, and obviously Bruce Daly and Neil Druckmann. So the team of Naughty Dog is literally made up of a huge amount of talent, skill, and a never give up, nothing's impossible attitude. The other side of that is a big thing this generation, and that's, I mentioned the animators. They've got a hell of a lot more RAM to play with. What they managed to squeeze out of the PS3 with such a small amount of RAM, it was aided a little bit, the techniques, by the stupidly high bandwidth that the cell processor had, but by and large they ran with 256 megs of RAM split. So their visuals were really well condensed. They've now got the ability to chuck that in at around 5.5, maybe even more if they've squeezed a little bit more out of the OS, gig of RAM. That makes a huge amount of difference on everything from texture quality to aliasing to animation. And the biggest thing that you can take out of this scene is the vivid detail in the animation. If you look at his eyelids before he awakes, you can see the eyeballs moving behind the eyelids. His facial expression, the cut on his head, even the fly scratches its legs after it lands on his forehead. There is just a sheer amount of detail in this video and this clip that just blows other people away. I think I've waxed lyrical quite long enough on Naughty Dog and Uncharted 4 and where this game sits in the technical aspect, and certainly in the vivid detail of what they've portrayed in this scene that's tricked everybody, and it takes this kind of absolute tooth comb, under the looking glass kind of detail to pick out tiny little things to show something that they would have rushed to get up for the E3 build. I just am in awe of the talent of this team, and I'm in anticipation of what they can deliver on the PS4. Hopefully the VGX will give us a taster of what this game can deliver. We will see some more cutscenes and some actual gameplay, which I'm sure will make everyone's mouths drop to the floor once again and question their morality and what is real and what is not, and what is possible and what is not. Naughty Dog simply are a cut above everybody else. This video and this quality of game running at full 1080 at 60 frames per second is certainly something I did not expect to see this early on. Well, that's not true. I did expect to see it, but I didn't expect it to look this goddamn good. I am in anticipation of what we can look forward to this generation, both on PS4, Xbox One and PC. There is a lot more to come. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative and didn't bore you too much. I'm sorry if I went on too long to describe it, but I wanted to get into some detail of what's going on. Anyway, as always, if you like the video, if you like my stuff, then please give me a subscribe. If you don't, give me a reason what you don't like. If you do like the video, give me a thumbs up. It always helps. You guys and girls take care, and I'll see you soon on the next one.